It is the Karelcast. I am Karel. So very glad you are joining me. I am in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, where not but 5 miles from my house right now, everybody, that's everybody, is everybody. The President of the United States, Mike Pence, every major Democratic candidate from Bloomberg to Buttigieg, from Biden to Warren to Klobuchar. They are all right here, right now, and they've been here roaming around my valley for the last couple of days. And they are here for the debates that are going on this week and for the caucus, which is going on this weekend, I believe. I cannot caucus here. I am a registered nonpartisan, so I can't caucus. But that being said, I wanted to give you a reason why I didn't really want to go speak to any of them, go over and interview them. Back in the day, if I were on KGO or if I were on KFI, you would probably expect us or me to go and talk to the candidates if they're all in town, or certainly try. And, you know, I've done that for decades, actually. And that's one of the reasons I have no desire to. But the other is, something has happened to me, and maybe it's happened to you. And I want to talk about that today. Also today, we've got the Boyscouts filing for bankruptcy, preemptive bankruptcy. And we're going to tell you why, and why I'm really angry about that, actually. And then Marshall Curry is going to be here. I taped the interview via Skype. The video lags. It's unfortunate, but it happened. It was I didn't want to stop the interview. So his audio comes before his video. But since most of you listen to my show audio, you're not even going to know that. If you do watch the video, and Marshall Curry has an Oscar. He's been nominated 4 times. He won this his 4th time for a window for a movie I've been raving about called The Living Room Window. It is available online for free for you to watch. We're going to tell you how during the interview. You're not going to want to miss it. You're going to want to go watch the movie online. It's incredible. And it speaks to connection. It speaks to social media. It speaks to windows on the world, making us think that there's something better. And it's because of my conversation with him that is part of the reason I did not want to kill myself to go talk to any of these candidates and do it all myself. And look, I am disabled, y'all. I know that we like to forget that, but I am. And so I can't carry all the equipment needed to go interview these people without staff. That's just the way it is. And so, you know, it's if I can arrange interviews that I can get staff to, or that they can come here, or we can do video, that's great. But I can't carry a 50-pound backpack of equipment and go and do interviews. I can't. My back will look at me. I mean, I'm crooked. I have scoliosis. I have degenerative disc disorder, osteoarthritis. A lot is wrong. Bulging discs and radiculopathy and all these things in my back and neck, which just mean I have to adjust. I have to get used to the new normal. And the new normal is I can't schlep all that stuff. It's why I have a wagon for Ember and my groceries, for those of you that have seen me out shopping. But anyway, so that's another reason. But had it been, had I really wanted the interviews like Emily Sandé, although I had staff for that, I would have. Or at least figured out a way to do it somehow, iPhones or whatever. But I didn't want to, and here's why. To me, the candidates are ideas at this point, okay? They're ideas. They're not really people because we don't know the people. Obama was an idea of progress of an African-American president. We didn't really know him or his record. Now that we know him, we love him. But it was a courtship. And what we saw in the courtship, we liked. But all of these debates and stuff, these are dates. Okay? And I know it feels like we've been dating them forever now and should be married. But just like with that, we haven't made up our minds. And that's because there's a lot of good ideas on the Democratic ticket and in the Democratic Party. I just see very few leaders. Okay, now look, I am bombastic. Trump is bombastic. We fill a room. We take over a conversation. Why do I have these in? Right or wrong, it doesn't matter. when I'm somewhere, you know I'm there. Okay? I'm not going to be overlooked. And in a debate, I'm going to win because I'm going to have facts and Jesus on my side. But you get what I'm saying. I'm good at this, at being Karel. I've wanted to be Karel my whole life. And when I finally got to be him, I became good at it. And so I've learned from the best, the absolute best. So is Trump. And if you don't think that matters, that factor, that if that thing, if you don't think that matters, it does. And so the Democrats, do I see that? No, I'm not in love with Mayor Pete. I mean, his husband is, and he loves his husband, and good for them both. But, I'm not married to either of them. I like Elizabeth Warren. You see, I wanted Kamala Harris. I wanted Beto O'Rourke. I wanted Cory Booker, Julian Castro. These are the people that excited me, that were more than ideas. They were a promise. They could deliver on the goods. Everybody else that I'm seeing now is an idea. Oh, well, Buttigieg is the gay idea with a moderate gay. Okay, so that's an idea. But what are his ideas? Bernie Sanders is Mr. Wilson from Dennis the Menace. We want to elect him. Get off my lawn. Mr. Wilson. Dennis. Really, we want to elect Mr. Wilson. And maybe Mr. Wilson would be good for us right now. I'd like Mr. Rogers, but whatever. We need a Mr. Rogers president right now. We really do. If he were alive, I'd beg him to run. So, that's an idea. His policies, he'll never get them through. You see, here's the other thing. All of these Democrats talking all of these policies are assuming they're going to have a Democratic House and Senate. They're assuming they're going to have a Speaker of the House that's going to work with them, a Congress that, they're assuming they're going to have a Supreme Court, that they're assuming that they're going to be able to step in and get something done because there's an infrastructure left, a government left, and because there's good people working in those positions. So you can move these. Yeah, right. Bernie Sanders would, if he wins, he's going to go off to D.C. with the people's mandate. But will he have a Democratic House and Senate? And even if he does, will all the Democrats be on board? No. They're going to split. So all of this is just talk and a good idea. But while it goes on, this sideshow, I read an article yesterday about Long Beach, California, and what your rent should be, $650 a month, because your average income is $27,000 a year, and what it really is, $2,000 or more. They were only studios or single rooms under 400 square foot for rent under $2,000 a month, and very few of those. San Francisco, even worse. The climate, there's so many scientists sounding off alarms about things that are melting right now. Oh my God. I mean, it's something what's going on in the world. And so all of these people in my town today, they're all just good ideas. Are they a good president? I don't know. We're going to have to see when they move beyond it, when I get to know them. I know their campaigns. I know their stump speeches. I'm going to need to see what they can actually do before I tell you if they were, anything more than a good idea. And right now, I know that I'm going to vote for whoever opposes Trump. So I do not need to go and talk to all of these people and all of these ideas, because quite frankly, they don't matter until they become power. An idea is just an idea until it has power. So once these people are the nominee, then I'll interview them. When the nominee's been chosen, I'll interview the nominee for the Democratic Party for the show. But before that, it's all just a lot of noise to me. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk the Boy Scouts, and then we're going to talk to Marshall Curry. I bet he wishes he were on a different show than this one today. But it is what it is. It is what it is. I am Karel. Go to reallykarel.com and support the show and subscribe at youtube.com/reallykarel. It is the Karelcast. I am Karel. I've only got 2 minutes really to address this Boy Scouts and the Catholics because the Marshall Curry interview is about 18 minutes. Here's the thing that and I'll be brief because I was brief on my walk when I screamed this out. For decades, the Catholics kept gay priests out, and the Boy Scouts discriminated against gays. And all the while, their nice, chaste, good members were dorking their little boys. Now, I've always found the Boy Scouts creepy. Grown-ass men dressing in little kids' outfits. That is frickin' creepy. And only a pedophile would think that was okay. But you know what? That's exactly who they didn't fear, because they thought that a gay meant a pedophile, because they were just so effing ignorant. And now your chickens have come home to roost, block, 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 and you have to file bankruptcy, you creepy Boy Scouts, because of all the guys coming forward and saying how they were molested by your good non-gay scout leaders. And they weren't gay, they were pedophiles. The Catholic Church and the Boy Scouts and so many other organizations were so busy being anti-gay that pedophiles got to tiptoe through the tulip of young boys, honey. Let me tell you. Because they're not gay. I don't even believe Lindsey Graham is gay. I believe that he practices bakabazi over in Afghanistan. I have no proof, but I believe that to be true. But you know what? Whether he does or doesn't, there is a difference between creepy pedophile and gay. And now we know what that is. It's called a Boy Scout or a priest. Okay? So that's the difference. Anytime someone says to you, there's no difference between a pedophile and being gay, say, yes, there is. A Boy Scout leader and a priest. Gays are not pedophiles, and they should have worried about pedophiles and not gays. We are not the problem. We are safe around your children. Your children are safe with us. Because guess what? We're not effing pedophiles. So all your worry about pedophilia all this time or about gays was useless because you never once equated that someone might just be a pedophile. I'm Karel. Marshall Curry interview coming up next. Don't go. I am Karel, and as you know, it's been awards season, and I've been loving the awards. And for any of you that have listened to the show throughout the years, you know that I get most excited actually about the animated shorts and the short films. As someone in the arts, I know that more passion, love, and dedication goes into those short films, both fiction and nonfiction, and the animated shorts than almost any feature. And I'm not bemoaning or besmirching any feature directors or any feature films. I'm just saying they're often done with a lot smaller budget, and often for a reason, for a purpose. It's like a burning desire. And so they're usually quite great. And this year was no exception whatsoever. There was some really great animated shorts and live action short films, both documentary and then nonfiction or drama. And I'm very lucky to speak with someone that made my favorite, and it won. We were at a club watching at Hamburger Mary's of all places, and I just screamed and yelled when it won, and everyone's looking at me and was like, I saw them, okay? So I was very happy. So when they said Marshall Curry could speak with me, I was great. Marshall Curry is a 4-time Academy Award-nominated documentarian and film and fiction director. He's a cinematographer. He's an editor. Well, because when you make these kind of films, you do it all. His films cover a wide range of interests. Street Fight, Cory Booker's first run as mayor, and of course I would have liked to have seen him last much longer in the Democratic race myself, but that's just me. Racing Dreams, story of 2 boys and a girl who dream of becoming NASCAR drivers. If a Tree Falls, a story of the Earth Liberation Front, which chronicles a radical environmental group. Point and Shoot, about an American who leaves home to join a Libyan revolution. And A Night at the Garden, about a Nazi rally that filled Madison Square Garden in 1939. They're called Trump rallies now. Excuse me, I thought I was going to be good. The Neighbor's Window is what he won for, however, and the moment I saw it, I was like, this is the best movie I have seen all year. It touched on everything you wanted a movie to touch on. It was entertaining. It kept you guessing. It made you cry. And then, more importantly, it made you reassess your own world. Because if you're like these people in the movie, and you are, The grass does always seem greener, but as Irma Bombeck once said, it's just other grass. So Marshall Curry is here with us to talk about this particular movie, The Neighbor's Window, which, Marshall, I didn't know this. Excuse my naivete, and thank you for joining me. A lot of people said, oh, yeah, it's from the podcast. I didn't know. So there was please explain that to me, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. So at the end of the credits, you'll see that there's a credit for the podcast that inspired it all. It was a story that a woman named Diane Weipert told on Love and Radio, which is a terrific podcast that people should see. And it was rebroadcast on Radiolab. But that was the seed of the story. I had heard that years ago, and when I sat down to write a script, it stayed with me. So I used that as the kind of the impetus behind it. I made up a new ending and all the dialogue and that sort of stuff. But that was really the seed of it.
Now, for those of you that haven't seen it, you should. And there is a company that I've been working with in terms of they've been sending me their PR stuff, and I've been loving it. And it's called Shorts TV. And that's how I saw it, was through Shorts TV and through a screener. And that is a great way to see short films, which, again, I maintain are some of the best ones ever made.
This one we should mention that is available for free online right now. So if people go to theneighborswindow.com, they can watch it for free.
Please go watch it for free online, everybody, at theneighborswindow.com. And there's going to be some spoilers here because I want to talk about the storyline, but moreover the story arc. We all, as an entertainer, okay, I interview, I'm on both sides of the velvet rope. I both am an entertainer, and then I'm also a journalist. I became a journalist to pay the bills while trying to be an entertainer. I just happen to be good at it. So I stay and do it for fun, basically. Like it's fun these days. But I always would, until I actually got to know, quote, celebrities, working actors, working singers, multi-platinum selling artists, I had a very one-sided view of what I thought. I had the view from this side of the street as to what I thought their world was. And I was involved in it. I saw it. I was a party to it. But I was still looking at it from across the street. And when I crossed the velvet rope and realized that every one of them has all of my problems and more, and that in many ways they would be me. I was once said to someone, I wish I were Steve Jobs. This is after he had passed. And I didn't really think about it. No, he hadn't passed yet. He had the cancer. And they said, well, isn't that funny? Because he'd probably give anything to be you right now. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, you're cancer free. You have a life ahead of you. And I thought, oh my God, Steve Jobs might actually want to be me at this. And that was really good. And in this movie, I sort of got that vibe, which was, we have the family on one side starting out. They've got the kids and they're living the life that, are you a parent? Because that was that's really real what happens inside of that house there. Have you lived that? Or do you have kids?
I have. My kids are a little older now. They're 13 and 15, but it doesn't feel that long ago that my apartment in New York was just always upside down and chaotic. So yes, a lot of that writing came straight from personal experience.
It felt like it. It felt very real. And I don't have kids, but I know many parents who do. And I go, yep, that's why I'm an uncle. That's why I'm an uncle right there. Yeah. And so you have this family that we can all relate to because we've all been sort of a member of it. And then whether you were the kid or you're the parent, and then you have the family across the street, and it's the family that has the glamorous parties, and they're young and they're beautiful, and everything is just, what your life seems to not be. They're having sex, you're not. And so you can't help it, you're the family in that apartment, because in today's world, it does seem like everybody else is living. I mean, on Instagram and on Facebook, you log on there and everybody's at fabulous dinners and everybody's having fabulous vacations on social media. So in a way, to me, and I don't know, Marshall Curry is my guest, maybe in a way to me, the movie was also like social media, in so much as we're all in that apartment living real life, looking out at social media, thinking everybody else is having this fabulous, fabulous life.
That's exactly right. And it's funny because the film premiered at Tribeca, and New Yorkers who have watched it have really connected with the actual experience of having the ability to look into a neighbor's window. But we've heard from lots of people around the country who don't live in buildings that face each other that in many ways it's an allegory for social media.
Yeah, for social media.
We get these intimate views into other people's lives, but they're not complete views. They don't tell the full story.
And that's the other thing that being in my job has taught me. The world gets the story that many people want to present. And whether you're a celebrity, and that means you're presenting it, your publicist is presenting it, then the writer has their agenda and they're presenting it. But no matter what, by the time you, the viewer or reader, get to consume that story, it's been the story told a certain way. And I think our lives are the same way. I think we curate our lives to kind of tell everyone the story that we want. But if a friend or a neighbor cracks that veneer, we might see that is really just a story that we're telling, and that the truth is much more complex.
I think that's exactly right. I mean, I have it happen all the time where I assume that the thing that I'm seeing on Facebook or Twitter or whatever is what it is. But, as they say, everybody's dealing with something.
Everybody is dealing. My dog's dealing with. So she's on the show all the time. People know that I just can't control her. She's an out of control crazy woman. So she barks and carries on, and I can't really stop her because it's mean to yell at the guests. They think I'm yelling at them. Shut up! What? I just was telling you the story. I don't mean you. So I just let her go now. Listeners are like, oh, I love to hear her in the background. Do you really? Because it drives me crazy. But anyway. About the stories that we present and the truths that we allow to be told. And then when we veer back, one of the reasons I think, I'm going to bounce this off you since you've made so many interesting movies. Marshall Curry is my guest, is Academy Award winning. Hello. How many people get to say that they've got Oscar as a roommate? But that's got to feel good because you've been nominated 4 times. And so right. You've been a bridesmaid a couple times, and now you finally got to.
I was thinking that was my destiny was to always sit in the audience. And
you were going to be the Susan Lucci of the Oscars, is what you were. You were happy to be the.
Right.
But the movie that did it is The Neighbor's Window, available online for free right now at theneighborswindow.com. And Marshall Curry is the director and writer, and certainly it's someone that brought this from the podcast, which is credited at the end, into real life and with his own view. And it's a story of stories. Let me ask you, the other day I was at the park, my same park I got attacked at this morning, and there was a woman there with her dog. And I had my dog, of course. And my dog wanted to go say hi, and the dog got up and said hi to my dog. And I looked up at the woman, and I could just see in her eyes, and I said, hi, good morning. And she just smiled, and I go, are you okay? And immediately she broke down, and she said the dog was 15. She thinks it's her last day alive. It's got congestive heart failure. It's already passed out twice at the park. She tells me this whole story, right? And as I leave in tears, I'm not letting her see the tears, but I talk to her and tell her my theory is of animals passing, that all an animal owns is its space. It doesn't have anything else in the world but its space. So when it dies, I think it wants you to fill that space with something that it needs it as soon as you can. And I told her that and walked away and started crying. And I told my friend, I said, sometimes I don't think we look deeper because we know if we do, it could hurt. And I think sometimes we take people's lives for granted on the outside because oftentimes we're afraid if we look deeper, they might not be as perfect as we think. And we want to have this vision of something as opposed to what it really is. So do you think one of the reasons we don't go across the street and talk to the neighbor finally is because we're afraid if we do, it's going to hurt?
Yeah, I mean, that's perceptive. I wouldn't have been able to say it, but as soon as you say it, it rings true to me.
Yeah, it's because even in the movie, she took that leap. Do I talk to her? I mean, here she is. What do I say? I've been stalking you for, it's like
right.
And yet she takes the leap. And the minute she takes that leap and makes that, and she bridges the gap between the two buildings, she pushes those buildings together. The minute that those two buildings are together and they're shaking hands and they're meeting, something very real happens. And that is the truth. And the truth in that situation is not only very powerful, but it changes the truth changes both of those people at that moment. Mm-hmm. And that's very, very powerful that when you actually do because I think that's what's missing from social media. I think, see, in the movie, we have the luxury of they actually meet. And on social media, so many times you see things and it's only a one-way connection. You can't, it can't connect with you back.
Right, right.
And in the movie, we at least get them to finally humanly connect.
Yeah.
And I won't tell anyone why or how or what happens to make them connect, but it will make you cry. So now that you've done this and you've won the Oscar for the, out of all the one, let me ask you this: out of all the things, I always tell people it's the shows that you throw away. Not that any show is a throwaway, but it's the shows that you don't think are going to make the biggest impact that become the shows that everybody remembers. Was this the movie you thought you'd win for?
Well, I don't know. So the three times I've been nominated before were for documentaries, which is mostly what I've done in my life. So, and I've worked.
Well,
hard
it's all
on
been a waste. Obviously, you're a fiction. I'm just
But so I always figured, if I were ever to win an Oscar, it would be for a documentary. And I made this little project in 4 days. I shot it, and
4 days.
Yeah, and I got a little grant from the New York State Council of the Arts, and most of the crew worked for free, somewhere between free and 10% of their normal commercial rates. But they read the script and they liked it, and so we, had a group of people that just worked.
I've done
their tails
4
off
seasons of
for 4
TV
days.
that way. Can you come and film and edit the entire episode for like $800? Sure. But you're going to be, I'm going to be talking to so-and-so, or we're going to be at such and such. Oh, wait, that's great. I want to be involved. And so, because, hey, you tell stories, you're creative. I happen to feel that, should I ever, I've seen the opposite. I've seen the $1 million budgets for both records and movies. And I have to tell you, it's a lot more fun when you are doing it because you just love what you're doing.
Right.
I do.
The best is when you love what you're doing and you also have money to
Yes,
pay people.
exactly.
Yeah.
So now that you've got the Oscar, people say it changes everything. What's going to change for you now that you have a golden statue with your name on it?
Well, I think that remains to be seen. We're just a few days away from the awards, and I don't know, but I'm hoping.
What do you want to do if someone says to you now, well, now I'm your agent and you've got an Oscar, so pretty much you can kind of pick your next thing that you want to do. What is it?
Well, I have a couple of documentaries that I'm interested in, and then a couple of scripts that I've been developing. So.
That now the industry will want you to pursue the scripts and not the documentaries because it's what you won for.
Maybe. Though I have to say it's surprising. In the years that I've been making documentaries, they've become so much more profitable than they were when I first started. This year at Sundance, a documentary sold for $12 million.
Do you think that's the millennial shift, the age shift? My niece and nephew, they're in their 30s. They love documentaries. Do you somehow the kids of boomers and Gen Xers, I guess they're Gen Xers kids. I don't know. I get lost. I don't know if I'm an X or Y. You see, I might be the generational non-binary. I'm not sure. But they do seem to want that kind of Netflix still, they don't share a lot of their data, but they still have one of their strongest showings is their documentary section. That's right. Still a lot of things watched on Netflix. So I think that people are yearning for why? Why do you think young people today want documentaries?
Yeah, I think it's young people, but I think people in general are open to documentaries. When I was growing up, if you told somebody that you were making documentaries, they thought that meant World War II black and white footage that was lecturing you about the Panzer Division came across the Rhine Valley or whatever, and it's like, or some science thing that was documentary meant a boring lecture. And I think that in the last few years, people have started to understand that documentaries are just nonfiction movies.
I was just going to say that they're just movies about real things. But they're movies. They have drama. They have heart. They have soul. They have a story to tell. They have a point of view.
They have narrative arcs, and I think as people have started to see it, I think streaming has helped a lot because they were able to put up a lot of stuff, and
they became accessible. Documentaries, where could you go see them? You couldn't go to a theater, and so they became accessible.
And once people started watching them, they said, that was really fun. That was really entertaining.
And they talk about them. I was at the park yesterday and someone asked me if I saw Night on Earth on Netflix yet, which is all of this nighttime photography all around the planet. And I had seen it actually. And I thought to myself, wow, of all the things they could ask me about on Netflix, they're asking me about a show that photographers went out and shot at night with these new night vision cameras, which are remarkable. The things you said, well, some of it you don't want to see, but it's remarkable. But again, that is a docuseries. That is not, they didn't ask me about The Witcher or whatever.
Right.
I could, of course, talk filmmaking, all this with Marshall Curry forever, but I was so happy when you won. The Neighbor's Window is an incredible film. It tells a really great story for our time about connection and getting involved and the grass being greener and reevaluating where you are. It really is a wonderful story. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to see what you do next, either documentary or fiction or both. Why limit yourself? And now that you do it, though, I do think that Oscar will maintain that you'll have a bank account and you'll be able to pay the crew this time, I think.
We'll see.
I think that's what an Oscar.
I'll be back next year and I'll let you know whether
you are going to be the Susan Lucci of the Academy Awards. You'll win 1 year and then you'll go 3 years and not, then you'll win again like John Williams. Well, thank you so much, Marshall Curry, and thank you for the film.
Thank you for sharing it with your audience. I appreciate it. It's fun talking with
you. Thank you. Hey, it's Karel, and whether you need to just host one website for yourself or host websites for all of your friends or all of your businesses, midphase.com is the place to go. They're the ones that handle it all for me. Midphase.com. Go now for specials. GoFundMe. Just click a little button and then GoFundMe. I'll be so very appreciative if you fund me. GoFundMe right now. Just go to reallykarel.com and click on the GoFundMe link and give a one-time donation, please.
If you're not visiting reallykarel.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast videos and the blog, including recipes, at reallykarel.com. That's reallykarel.com.
Get your business or organization up and running on the web with their own website. Host your own and host many for other people at midphase.com. That's midphase.com.